Discover the heartwarming journey to unexpected self-discovery. Transform your life today. Jake stood outside the family garage, the sun painting golden lines across the Midwestern fields that seemed to stretch into eternity. He could almost feel the weight of the dreams he'd left behind. Each vehicle that rolled in was a reminder, a rusted truck here, a vintage car there, of the life he felt destined to live but never had. For some, being a mechanic was a respected vocation. For others, like his brother, it was just a step away from failure. In a world of corporate success and perfect homes, Jake was just the mechanic. That label churned a tight knot in his chest. It was hard to breathe under the expectations of a brother who had landed a cushy corporate job and earned the admiration of everyone in town. Jake fought memories of his father, stern yet loving, a Vietnam veteran who taught him the meaning of hard work. It was so ingrained in him, yet he couldn't escape the suffocating shadows of comparison. But then life threw them a curveball. His father fell ill, and the burden slipped squarely onto Jake's shoulders as he juggled caring for his dad and running the garage. The endless plumbing issues became a metaphor for the disruptive tide of emotions swaying him each day. Jake felt trapped, torn between his duties and the fear that the garage, his family's legacy, might crumble under his hands. His brother saw an opportunity as clear as day: sell the property, cash in quick, and move on. The air around him was thick with tension. Townsfolk whispered behind hushed hands about his brother's success, casting sidelong glances at Jake. It hurt more than he could express, like a weight pressing down and squeezing out any spark of hope. Yet, hope flickered when the annual Harvest Festival loomed ahead. This was the event where the small town came together, where people gathered to celebrate triumph and resilience. Jake knew he had to put something together, something that showed his father the love wrapped in every grease-stained engine and every tightened bolt. As an act of defiance against the judgment he'd felt, he decided on a car wash and bake sale to raise money for his father's medical bills. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the big day approached, doubt nagged at him like a persistent itch. Would the townspeople stand by him, or would they be swayed by the shiny lifestyle his brother flaunted? The morning of the fundraiser dawned cloudy, but Jake could feel the electricity in the air, a current of hope and dread intertwining. People began to congregate, familiar faces emerging from the masses, their whispers a blend of encouragement and skepticism. Each moment of waiting pounded against his chest. When his eyes locked onto his brother's face, a mix of disdain and disbelief, Jake steeled himself. This was it. He could feel the world pressing down on him, the weight of family and identity as he prepared to speak. Jake took a breath, knowing he was not just battling for the garage. He was fighting for recognition, for love, and for the right to define his worth beyond the label of just a mechanic. Would he finally stand tall enough to break free from the burdens of expectation, or would he remain lost in someone else's shadow? The answer awaited him in the charged silence that surrounded them. Jake stepped onto the makeshift stage, a simple wooden platform that felt like a mountain at that moment. His heart raced. The townspeople gathered, their faces a mix of curiosity and judgment, glances darting between him and the polished image his brother projected. Sweat trickled down his back, but he clenched his fists, channeling the energy swirling in his chest. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice wavering slightly. He could see Mrs. Thompson from down the street, leaning against a tree, her arms crossed. "I know this isn't just about a car wash and bake sale. It's about something bigger." Every word felt heavy, each syllable a step toward breaking free from the weight of other people's expectations. "My dad, he taught me everything I know. Not just about fixing engines, but about being a good man. Hard work, dedication, and standing up for what's right. That's what I learned." He paused, glancing at the crowd. A flicker of understanding passed over some faces, but others remained skeptical, like his brother, whose expression held a mix of disbelief and irritation. Jake fought to keep his focus steady. I know many of you see me as the mechanic, as if that's all I am. But continuing my family's legacy, that's something I take pride in. And today, it's for my father. The words poured out, raw and real, carving a path through the tension. I'm not hoping for handouts. I'm asking for support as a son who wants to give back to the man who raised him. A hush fell over the crowd. A small cluster of friends, who had come forward to help set up the event, nodded encouragingly, their smiles urging him on. Jake felt strength pooling in his chest, igniting the flicker of hope into a blazing fire. I believe in this garage. I believe it's a part of our community. And we can still keep our traditions alive while adapting to what we need today. Together, we can build something that honors our past while looking to the future, he declared, the power of his own conviction ringing clearer. With each sentence, the knot in his chest loosened, replaced by a resolve he hadn't felt in so long. For once, he wasn't speaking just to defend himself, he was advocating for a shared dream. He concluded with a humble but determined challenge. I invite you to join me for my dad, for all of us who believe in working hard, supporting each other, and proving that our worth isn't defined by titles or success stories of others. Let us raise money, but let us also raise each other up. Silence met him, thick and charged. Then, one voice broke through, steady and firm. You got this, Jake. It was one of the guys from the garage, followed by a ripple of encouraging murmurs. Encouraged, Jake stepped back, emotions roiling in him like a storm. It wasn't just about the garage anymore, it was about recognition, healing, and the power of standing for what truly mattered. As people began to leave their spots, buzzing with energy, he noticed his brother still standing there, a mix of anger and something else. Was it regret? The scent of baked goods began to waft toward him, and smiles broke out among the onlookers. They were moving toward the car wash station, their laughter filling the air. Jake couldn't help but feel a flicker of joy against the backdrop of uncertainty. But just as he let himself breathe, a familiar, cold voice called out from the side. You think this will change anything? You're still just the mechanic, Jake. Jake turned, his heart pounding. This was not over, not by a long shot. He'd weathered storms before, but this one felt different. Could he truly prove his worth to the town, and maybe even to his brother, who still didn't see him for who he really was? As the car engines roared to life for the service, and laughter mingled with the scent of fried dough, Jake felt a resolve something within him. This was just the beginning. A reckoning was coming, and it would be up to him to embrace his truth, whatever that meant. What would he do when faced with the ultimate choice: persevere or give in? His heart raced as he prepared for the final showdown he knew was inevitable. The air was thick with questions, and the answers might just change everything. Jake stood frozen for a moment, the murmurs of the crowd fading into a dull hum. He turned to face the source of the voice, his brother's sneer cutting through the atmosphere thick with hope. The doubt lingered in the air like smoke, and all Jake could feel was the pounding of his heart, roaring in his ears. Just the mechanic, he repeated under his breath, the words stinging far more than he expected. The weight of them settled deep in his chest, wrapping around his heart like a vice. He had spent so long fighting against that label. But now, despite the jab, something flickered inside him, a light that had dimmed too long. Did it really matter what his brother thought? Jake remembered the first time he picked up a wrench in their dad's garage, the way the smell of oil mixed with the laughter of family. He didn't want to let that moment drown in another's doubt. A sudden burst of laughter nearby yanked him from his thoughts. Friends from the garage were brandishing soapy sponges, splashing each other playfully as they moved to wash a well-loved but grimy truck. The sight warmed Jake's heart. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about community, connections, traditions. Determined now, Jake stepped off the stage and moved towards the heart of the activity, embracing the chaos. Hey! Let us tackle this together. He shouted over to his friends, the smile on his face genuine and bright. The group cheered, and he felt the energy shift, a wave of enthusiasm washing over the scene. As they worked, laughter bubbled up around him, pushing away shadows of uncertainty. People formed a line, handing over baked goods and coins for the garage fund. Each gesture stirred something beautiful within him, a realization that maybe he wasn't just the mechanic but a part of something bigger, a family of sorts. For every coin dropped in the bucket, for every car that rolled in, he felt their unity strengthen. Even as he scrubbed the truck, throwing playful insults about who was scrubbing harder while ensuring the laughter flowed, something profound sat subtly in the air. Belonging, but behind the joy, Jake could still feel his brother's gaze. It was a weight that pressed on his shoulders, but he pushed it aside. Instead, he focused on the faces around him, the smiles, the support. Each moment of connection felt like a tiny solo victory, but just as the laughter reached a crescendo, his brother stepped forward, arms crossed, asserting his presence. You really think you can change their minds? Jake turned, ready to fight back, but something stopped him. Instead of anger, he felt a mix of pity and determination. I'm not here to change their minds. I'm here to show them who I am. You're still the mechanic to them and to me, his brother replied, a flash of insecurity mingling with his cold confidence. Jake took a deep breath, letting the moment hang in the air. What would it take for his brother to see beyond a label? Then let me show you, he said softly, the words leaving his mouth before he could second-guess them. The air felt heavier, rapidly turning from the lightness of the event to something else entirely. Jake's palms were sweaty, and it was now clear that the battle was not just with the townspeople but within his own family. As he locked eyes with his brother, something shifted. Would this day turn into a defining moment or further entrench them in their roles? With a fierce determination, Jake resolved to believe in himself, to carve his place in their world. But would that be enough to change anything? The question lingered, heavy and unresolved, as the laughter faded into the distance and the sun began to dip low in the sky. What would it take for Jake to finally break free from the chains of expectation? The answer was on the tip of his tongue, but only time would tell if he was ready to embrace the truth that lay ahead. Jake felt the tension in the air. His brother's smirk had turned into a tight-lipped frown, a stark reminder of the judgment he'd always felt from him. Yet underneath that gaze, Jake sensed something else, a flicker of envy mixed with uncertainty. It was enough to stir a different kind of resolve within him. Let us show them what we can do. He called out, rallying his friends once more, the weight of his brother's words fading into the background. They jumped into action, the energy electric. Each splash of soap and every shared laugh pulled them closer together. The truck gleamed under the fading sunlight, each stroke of the sponge amplifying the joyous spirit of the gathering. But in a quieter corner of his mind, the nagging thought of his brother loomed large. Why was it so hard for him to see any worth in what Jake did? Jake pondered that question as he wiped sweat from his brow. His hands moved almost on autopilot, scrubbing the grime away, while thoughts of their childhood bled into the present. The memories brushed against his consciousness like fleeting specters: late-night tinkering in the garage, races to fix the best car, shared triumphs that felt so far away now. Jake had adored those moments then. Why had they turned into ashes of animosity? He lost track of time, absorbed in the rhythm of laughter and chatter, until a new voice pierced through the atmosphere. A face from the past re-emerged in the crowd, their old neighbor Miss Hargrove. She had a soft spot for their family and a treasure trove of kitchen delights, the aroma of fresh pies always wafting from her home. Jake! She called out with a warmth that halted Jake's thoughts. Her bright blue apron was splashed with flour, and her cheeks glowed like a fresh sunset. You did a marvelous job with the garage restoration. It's so wonderful to see so many helping you. He felt a rush of pride. Thanks, Miss Hargrove. We're all in this together, he replied, hoping the camaraderie showed through. Exactly. His friend Tara chimed in. This isn't just fixing cars, it's bringing us together. That's right. And we're proud to support you, Jake. Miss Hargrove exclaimed, her voice filled with affection, their words wrapped around him like a comforting hug. He glanced toward his brother, who stood apart, arms still crossed but with an unreadable expression on his face. Jake's heart raced. Was this the moment? Could he bridge the chasm between them? Determined, he approached his brother with deliberate steps. The chatter hushed as he drew near, all eyes heavy with anticipation. You see, it's not just about the label. It's about who we are as a team, Jake said, voice steady. I'm a mechanic, but I'm also a friend, a brother, a part of this community. Don't you see? His brother's eyes flickered, less hostile now but still guarded. What if they only see you as a mechanic? What if they only ever remember you that way? Jake felt his heart thud in his chest, more intensely than before. What if I can change that? What if I can redefine what that means? A silence fell over them. Jake's hope hung in the air, as fragile as a thread yet stronger than he had imagined. The crowd's gaze shifted back and forth, sensing the gravity of the moment. Would his brother concede? Would he understand? But just then, a loud crash broke the tension. A bucket of soapy water had tipped over, soaking everyone nearby. Laughter erupted, the commotion cutting through the uncertainty. Jake chuckled, but beneath his laughter lay a deeper concern. The moment had slipped away like the water from the bucket. Could he truly reshape the perception his brother and others held? More importantly, could he redefine himself? With each heartbeat, Jake felt the vibrant spirit of his friends spur him on, but would it be enough to resonate with his brother? As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows, Jake's heart raced with questions that remained unanswered. The journey had just begun, and Jake sensed that it would require more than mere words to break those chains. What would it take for him not just to show who he was, but to inspire his brother to see his own worth? The cheerful chaos of the gathered friends surrounded Jake, but the laughter felt distant. He stole another glance at his brother, the unsaid words lingering heavily in the air. The man who had once been his closest ally now seemed like a stranger, the divide between them as vast as the ocean. Each laugh from his friends felt like a reminder of what was missing in his relationship with his brother. As the sun dropped lower in the sky, casting orange and purple hues across the horizon, Jake felt the urge to reconnect. He remembered the nights they had spent working side by side, sharing dreams over greasy tools, but now their shared history felt overshadowed by disappointment. It was unsettling. If they could build that camaraderie again, perhaps he could finally break through the walls that had formed between them. Clearing his throat, Jake took a deep breath and decided to invite his brother into the warmth of the moment. Hey, why don't you come help us? He called out, trying to project excitement, but his voice trembled with uncertainty. We could use your skills. The crowd paused, and all eyes turned in his brother's direction. Some murmured encouragement while others shifted uncomfortably, unsure of how his brother would respond. Jake's heart raced, praying he would say yes. For a moment, his brother hesitated. Jake caught a flicker of longing in his darker eyes, a desire to connect that maybe he wasn't ready to admit. Slowly, he unfolded his arms, the tension in his posture easing just enough for hope to flutter inside Jake. I guess I could, he finally said, and the way his voice trailed off suggested he didn't fully believe it. Great. Come on. Jake urged. You know how to make this old truck look brand new. Let us show them how it's done. They began working side by side, and Jake did his best to keep the atmosphere light. What do you think? Should we paint flames on the side? He joked, trying to cut through the lingering weirdness. His brother didn't respond right away, focused intently on the task in front of him. But with each stroke of the brush, something shifted. Laughter erupted again, this time between the brothers as they pulled at old memories. They shared stories of their favorite cars, their comical fails, and the harmless pranks they had pulled on each other. Jake watched as his brother's rigidness began to soften, cracks appearing in the armor he so carefully maintained. An unexpected wave of warmth flowed through Jake. This simple work, one they had done countless times before, was beginning to bridge the gap between their worlds. The camaraderie had started to grow, and it reminded him of how they used to be, before everything changed. As the evening wore on, they stood back, hands on hips, assessing their progress. The truck shone brightly, but it felt like something more significant was happening. A transformation that was not just exterior but interior for both of them, but just when Jake allowed himself to truly believe that they might be on the path to mending their relationship, the mood shifted. His brother's expression hardened, fleeting doubts threatening the fragile connection they had just begun to build. What if it's all just a facade? What if we're just pretending? He suddenly asked, his voice dropping to a whisper, almost drowned out by the laughter around them. Jake's heart sank, and the weight of his brother's question hung heavily between them. Was it even possible for them to return to what they once had? With the sun setting, casting shadows that crept ever closer, he felt the urgent need to answer that question before it was too late. What could he say to turn that doubt into hope? The uncertainty lingered in the air, a heavy cloud promising a storm. Jake knew this was just the beginning of a deeper conversation, one that could reshape everything. But would he find the right words to push away the darkness? Jake took a moment to gather his thoughts, the gentle hum of the gathering surrounding them fading into background noise. He could feel the weight of his brother's doubt pressing in on him, palpable and suffocating. The laughter of their friends felt like a stark contrast to the heaviness in the space between them. Listen, Jake started, his voice low but steady, I know things haven't been easy. It's been hard for both of us. He glanced away, the memories flooding in times when they had stood shoulder to shoulder, laughing over victories and sharing burdens. But I don't want to pretend anymore. I want us to be honest. I miss you. I miss my brother. His brother looked away, the fading light catching the sharp angles of his face as he turned. You don't know what that looks like now, he replied, a bitterness creeping into his tone. I do, Jake insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. We were more than just brothers. We were a team. He felt the anger inside him flare up but tried to breathe through it. I know I messed up, but can't we at least try to build something real again? For a moment, silence stretched between them, thick and charged. The sounds of joy from their friends faded, replaced by a weighty stillness. Jake's heart raced as he studied his brother's face, searching for a hint of agreement, a glimmer of the connection that once bound them. What if it just hurts more? His brother murmured, almost to himself. What if everything goes back to how it was but worse? It doesn't have to be like that. Jake stepped closer, yearning to bridge not just the physical distance but the emotional chasm that had opened up. We're not the same people we were. We have so much to learn from each other if we let ourselves. Slowly, his brother's gaze met his, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his features. You really think it's worth the risk? I do, Jake said, conviction building in his chest. I miss you, man. I miss laughing with you and dreaming together. Let us not let the past drag us down without giving the future a chance. With the last rays of sunset painting their surroundings in warm hues, something shifted in the air. Jake's brother took a deep breath, his shoulders relaxing ever so slightly. Okay, he said, the tiniest crack in his wall revealing itself. But I'm scared, Jake. Scared it'll all break apart again. Then let us build something sturdy this time, Jake replied, his heart soaring at the tentative agreement. He felt hope sparking between them, igniting a cautious optimism. Together. As they returned to the task at hand, each brushstroke now felt infused with purpose. Their movements were slow at first, but gradually, they started working in sync. Laughter joined the vibrant colors on the truck, each jab and quip lifting the heaviness that had lingered just moments ago. The sound of their laughter echoed around them, a sweet melody accompanied by the playful chatter of their friends. For the first time in a long while, Jake truly felt like they were a part of a greater whole, a community that rallied around them, but just as the tension between them seemed to fade, a familiar voice cut through. Hey! Are you two finally back on the same page? Because if so, you owe me a rematch. You remember that race we had? Jake winced at the playful jab from their friend, but his brother surprised him. A half-smile crept onto his face, a reflection of old times. "You really think you can beat me again?" As the laughter spread, Jake's heart swelled with a renewed sense of hope. Maybe this was the turning point they needed. Or maybe it was just the beginning of a long journey. But as the night wore on and the stars began to twinkle in the dark sky, another fear crept in. What if this moment wasn't enough to hold them together? What if the shadows returned, threatening their bond again? Jake couldn't shake the thought, but he knew he needed to trust in this fragile connection they were rebuilding. He took a moment, lost in contemplation, as his brother joined in the banter with their friends. And then it hit him, wasn't that what this was all about? Finding ways to support each other through the uncertainties, rebuilding slowly but surely. The answer was there, just waiting to be uncovered. Would they have the courage to keep facing those fears together? Or would they falter in the face of an uncertain future? With the night air cool and the stars shimmering above, Jake felt the flickers of hope ignite within him. He tried to capture this moment, a snapshot of laughter shared, trust slowly being reignited. But beneath the surface of that joy, uncertainty churned. As their friends broke into playful debates over who was the fastest, Jake's brother stood a little taller, his earlier bitterness shifting like shadows danced away by the night. Jake caught a glimpse of that old spark, the effortless camaraderie they once shared. Maybe they weren't completely lost. Maybe, just maybe, they were on the brink of a new chapter. "Alright, if you think you can handle a rematch, let us do this right," Jake's brother called out, his voice buoyant but teasingly competitive. A wave of laughter rolled through their friends, and for a split second, Jake felt as if the past didn't matter. The present was full and bright, like the glimmers of light strung above them. "Just remember, I've been practicing." Jake shot back with a smirk, unable to help but match his brother's enthusiasm. The air buzzed with excitement as the crowd rallied around them, clapping and cheering as if they were about to witness a grand event. Before they could race, however, a sudden hush fell over the group. One of their friends, Maya, who often brought in those unexpected and serious moments, raised an eyebrow, her gaze shifting between the brothers. "You two better not wreck this moment again. Just promise me you'll really talk afterward, okay? It's time to drop the walls." Jake's heart sank, but he appreciated her honesty. This was the crux of their journey, wasn't it? They could race all night, trade friendly jibes, and laugh until their sides hurt, but if they didn't confront their past, they'd be running in place. He glanced at his brother, half expecting to see irritation flash in his eyes. Instead, his brother looked contemplative, his lips pressed together in thought. "Fine," Jake's brother said after a long pause, the lilt of uncertainty still dancing in his tone. "Let us have the race, then we'll talk. But I'm not making any promises about how deep this gets." Jake nodded, relief washing over him mixed with anticipation. It was a start, a chance to keep deepening this connection. Maybe their journey wouldn't be linear, but curvy and wounding, full of bumps but still moving forward. As they readied themselves for the race, excitement rippled through the group again. The feel of the pavement beneath their feet, the shouts from their friends cheering them on, and the thrill of competition settled in. They positioned themselves at the makeshift starting line, a long stretch of pavement illuminated by twinkling lights overhead. "On your mark, get set, go!" shouted one of their friends, and they took off. The wind brushed against Jake's face, and for a fleeting moment, he felt utterly liberated. Here they were, two brothers running side by side, leaving the past behind them in the dust. Even the pain that had shadowed them felt lighter, a memory they could hold instead of letting it crush them. But even as excitement surged through him, the ticking clock in his mind reminded him this euphoria was a temporary escape. What awaited them after the finish line was still an unknown. Jake's heart beat with urgency, a mix of exhilaration and anxiety. As they neared the finish, Jake could feel his brother's presence, strong and steady beside him. He glanced over, catching his brother's eye for just a moment, and they shared a smile. It was a small flicker, a promise of the conversations yet to come. They crossed the line together, the cheers erupting around them like fireworks. Laughter and exhilaration filled the air, but a wave of realization washed over Jake as they slowed to a stop, sweat glistening on their faces. This was just a race, but it was a metaphor for their journey, one they could embark on together. But would they find courage in those quieter moments, the ones that really mattered? Jake took a shaky breath, his laughter merging with his brother's. They had a lot of ground to cover. The road ahead promised trials, yet as he looked at his brother, he felt a surge of determination. They weren't done yet. But just as he opened his mouth to speak, a loud siren sliced through the night, pulling them both back to reality. The moment felt fragile again, shadows creeping back in. What would it mean for them? And in that space, Jake wondered if this distraction was a foreboding sign or a wake-up call. Would they face whatever came next as brothers, or would it send them spiraling back into silence once more? The siren's wail hung in the air like an unwanted reminder of reality. Jake's heart raced, adrenaline merging with the exhilaration of their race. What was happening? He pushed aside the thrill of the moment, focusing instead on the scene unfolding before him. Their friends, initially buzzing with excitement, exchanged nervous glances, confusion softening the laughter that once filled the night. Is it the cops? Do they think we're too loud? One of their friends muttered, glancing toward the street where flashing lights began to pulse in the distance. Jake's stomach dropped. Could this night really be veering off course so quickly? Let us not panic, Jake's brother said, though the tense edge to his voice betrayed him. Both brothers stood there, breaths still quickening from the sprint, yet the tension between them was palpable. Suddenly, the light from the approaching vehicle illuminated their faces, washing everything in a silver glow. As the police car halted, Jake felt a wave of uncertainty wash over him. Would this night end in frustration? The distance from their fleeting moment of joy felt like a chasm as the officer stepped out of the vehicle, surveying the scene. She looked young, maybe just a few years older than them, and her face held a seriousness that contrasted starkly with the carefree atmosphere just moments ago. Everything okay here? She approached with a look that was equal parts caution and curiosity, eyeing the group of friends who had now fallen silent. Yeah, we were just, Jake began but faltered, unsure of how to frame their joyful night in a way that wouldn't sound ridiculous. We're just celebrating. His brother chimed in, taking a step forward, his past crackling under the scrutiny like an old record about to skip. Just some friendly races. The officer's lips relaxed slightly, and she glanced between the brothers, searching for something deeper than the words. Jake caught his brother's eye again, apprehension mixing with a flicker of hope. Maybe they could reveal something more than just the surface of their lives, the paint of their problems peeling back little by little. Sounds like fun, the officer replied, her tone softening. Just keep the volume down, all right? We don't want to disturb anyone. With that, she turned to leave, and for a brief moment, the tension lifted. The group erupted in laughter, but Jake felt grounded, struck by the sudden thought that even something as simple as a police visit could be a chance for them to reflect. Maybe we should take this quieter moment to talk, Jake suggested, glancing back toward his brother. Like Maya said. Yeah, all right, his brother replied, a resigned strength filling the air between them. They moved toward a quieter corner of the park, their friends dispersing into smaller groups to give them space. Jake could feel the weight of expectation as they sat down on a grassy knoll, the cool earth grounding him. Remember how we used to hang out just like this? Jake said, trying to capture that bright spark of nostalgia that seemed to flicker in his brother's eyes. Yeah, before everything got so complicated, his brother replied, his voice quieter now. The conversations they had in tea had loomed in the silence, heavier than any words exchanged. Suddenly, memories flooded in those endless summer nights, racing bikes down the sidewalk, sharing secret ambitions while hiding from the world. Each moment felt more fragile now, each smile masking something deeper, something left unsaid. Do you ever think we've let those moments slip away too easily? Jake ventured. His brother sighed, the weight of unspoken words thickening the air. It's hard not to think about how we hurt each other. It's like we've forgotten how to be ourselves. Jake felt a pang in his chest. They were right on the brink, yet hovering above a void. The siren had been a reminder, not just of the outside world, but of the inner turmoil they needed to face. Then let us change that, Jake said, feeling the warmth of determination swell within him. Let us promise to change that tonight. But as he looked at his brother, he wondered if that promise would be enough to bridge the distance that still lingered. Could they truly take the dive into their pasts, or would calamity strike again and pull them back into silence once more? With thoughts swirling in his mind, he awaited his brother's reply, the air thick with unspoken questions. Would this moment push them forward, or would they retreat into the shadows again, the siren's echo always haunting their hearts? The silence stretched between them, heavy with anticipation. Jake could see his brother's mind working, thoughts racing behind his eyes. He wanted so badly to bridge the gap. Yeah, okay, his brother finally said, his voice softer but carrying an undercurrent of conviction. We can start by talking about what happened with us. Jake nodded, relieved but anxious. I think that's a good place to begin. Remember our last big fight? His brother asked, the memory tightening the air around them. Jake winced at the recollection, the shouting, the harsh words thrown like rocks. It felt like they'd been at war instead of brothers. Yeah, Jake replied slowly. It got out of hand fast. I didn't mean what I said, I just felt so frustrated. I know. His brother sighed, running a hand through his hair. It was a tough time for both of us. We were both changing, and we didn't really talk about it. It was like we were just expected to understand each other without saying anything. Each word carved understanding into the space that had felt so distant. Jake breathed deeply, feeling the weight of his brother's honesty settling between them like a healing balm. Maybe we can fix that, Jake suggested, his pulse quickening. We could talk more about whatever's going on, you know. Like we used to. The slightest smile tugged at his brother's lips, a sign that hope was flickering. Yeah, it's been too long since we really connected. What brought us together will keep us together, right? Jake felt something inside him begin to shift, a softening of the edges that had hardened in the bitterness. I miss those days. We could share anything, and none of it felt too heavy. Right. His brother leaned forward, eyes gleaming with a mixture of nostalgia and yearning. Let us start small. What about that backpacking trip we always talked about? A weight lifted off Jake's shoulders. They'd been talking about traveling together for ages, and it had turned into another thing left unsaid, like a forgotten promise. Yes. Just go on trails, away from everything, Jake's voice was filled with enthusiasm. We can just talk. No distractions. As excitement built, Jake remembered how easily they had drifted apart, letting other things take precedence. They'd always been tight, the kind of brothers who shared dreams and fears. Somehow, that slipped through the cracks. Let us do it, then. Just you and me, like old times, his brother said, clearly feeling the surge of rekindled connection. Yeah, just us. Jake smiled, feeling warmth flood through him. But then the thought hit him, haunting in its truth. What if it was too late? What if years of silence shaped who they were now, like shadows in their hearts? Do you think we can really get back what we had? Jake's voice faltered, vulnerability creeping in. His brother paused, and the smile faded just enough for an echo of uncertainty. I think it's possible, he said carefully. But we've got to be open. No more walls, okay? Okay. Jake nodded, conviction rippling through him. That's the only way we'll heal. He felt a spark of hope, but beyond that, uncertainty still loomed. Could they really reconnect without rehashing the past? The night felt alive, echoing with the cravings of their hearts, both of them yearning for the warmth of their bond. Suddenly, the thrill of their childhood adventures filled Jake's mind. What if we finished that race from earlier? Just for fun. Let us run back to the start line. A grin broke out on his brother's face, and Jake could see the familiar glimmer of mischief there. The laughter, the old energy sparked anew. "You're on." They both leapt up, almost forgetting the heaviness of the past as they sprinted into the night, their laughter carrying them into a shared rhythm that pulsed with possibilities. As they raced, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. What would happen when the sun rose on new clarity? But ahead lay the unknown. Would confronting the past truly strengthen their future, or would they find themselves stumbling through familiar shadows once more? As the night stretched on, Jake and his brother raced toward the finish line, two figures lit by camaraderie and an unspoken promise. The laughter echoed in the air, a sweet sound of connection harnessing memories of shared summers and childhood dreams. They were running toward something more profound than mere speed, they were running toward the chance to redefine each other. Breathless and exhilarated, they crossed the line together, stopping short of a radiant sunset. They high-fived, heartbeats racing, adrenaline pulsing through them like lifeblood. It felt beautiful, uplifting, it felt like they had crossed more than a finish line, but the joy of their sisterhood, built on laughter and light, brought forth shadows of the past. Jake glanced sideways at his brother, moments of hesitation resurfacing. "What now?" he asked, wiping sweat from his brow. The cheer dispersed around them, laughter fading into soft conversations as the night morphed into a canvas painted with uncertainty. His brother turned serious, a mix of vulnerability and determination etched on his face. "We keep talking, right? About what really matters. No masks this time." Jake nodded, his heart echoing the weight of that sentiment. They settled down on the grass, a shadow of analysis covering them, yet the air felt alive, tension and understanding weaving together. "I don't want this to just be a fun night followed by silence," Jake admitted. "We haven't dealt with things, and I want us to change that," he said, voice steady, hope intertwined with fear. His brother was quiet for a moment, the stillness filled with thoughts left unspoken. Finally, he replied with a quiet conviction, "I want that too. I think I've been running from what we lost. It scared me." Jake felt warmth blossom inside, each admission knitted their bond stronger. "I miss sharing life with you." "It's not about who's wearing the bigger title or making more money," Jake stated firmly. "It's about family and what we stand for." The truth hit his brother, resonating beneath the veneer of ego, unearthing buried emotions. "I've felt the pull of the past, and instead of embracing it, I let it push me away from you," he admitted, voice trembling slightly. "All this time, I wanted to believe your work was less valuable. But deep down, I was just scared that what I had isn't enough." Something profound shifted between them, a new understanding kindling a light where shadows had loomed. "I've admired the way you've handled everything. You've kept the garage alive, it's our legacy," Jake exclaimed, realizing the transformation was not in what they had achieved separately but in how they believed in each other. As they gazed into the night sky, stars burst against a velvet backdrop, illuminating long-forgotten dreams. For the first time in ages, the pressure of expectations began to lift with the weight of honest dialogue. It felt liberating not just for Jake but for them both. "I want to move forward together," Jake continued. "We can build something that honors both of our paths. We're not different threads, we're a fabric woven together." Hope shimmered, flickering anew, his brother's eyes shone, and his posture softened. "You're right. No more living in past shadows. We can redefine the way others see us, but first, we need to see who we are," he admitted with a newfound resoluteness. With every word spoken, every layer peeled back, both brothers felt like they were shedding the weight of years that threatened to drown them in silence. Whether the journey ahead was bumpy or smooth did not matter. They had taken the essential step, paving the path toward healing and growth. As laughter resumed among their friends in the background, Jake felt the warmth from their shared moment ripple into something enormous. They could tackle anything, side by side. This wasn't just a fresh beginning, it was the promise of respect, of unity, of rediscovery. "Next week, let us hit the trails and catch up like we used to," Jake suggested, eyes wide with excitement. "And help each other along the way, no running away anymore." His brother nodded enthusiastically, a grin spreading across his face, bright and genuine. I'll hold you to that. We'll map out every trail, and none of it will be a lonely journey anymore. With that commitment sealed in the air like a prayer, the night stretched before them, challenges, laughter, and clarity intermingling with friendship. They looked at one another, encumbered with hope and anticipation. While the uncertain unknown waited just beyond the horizon, knowing together they could face anything filled them with resilience. As the evening shadow faded into a soft embrace, Jake took a deep breath, feeling lighter. In the heart of his family's legacy, he knew they were not just brothers, they were the anchor for each other's dreams. The future felt open, ripe with possibility, a beautiful illustration of what they could achieve together, and in that moment, under a tapestry of stars, the transformation shimmered brightly between them, the metamorphosis of brotherhood unfolding, proof that love, patience, and understanding could change everything. Now it's time for you to be part of our story. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on the next exclusive tales. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every click makes more of an impact. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt ending. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread hope and change together.